Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Shinigami I am Uchiha Madara. Chapter 21, Urankarization. Uchiha Madara couldn't help but think of the scene when he saw the mask for the first time. At that time, he felt that a powerful force was needed to break the mask. However, Uchiha Madara has a question. Since the mask is an important place for the storage of virtual Reiatsu, once the mask is cut off, the spiritual power will be lost automatically, so why use Urankar? Isn't this a contradiction? As if seeing Madara's doubts, Asido patiently explained. Yes, the mask is indeed an important place to store Reiatsu in the incorporeal body, but Urankarization does not mean destroying the mask, but forming a unique spiritual core that can seal Reiatsu. The latter part of Urankar's power will form the spiritual core of Reiatsu, which is commonly known as sword transformation, just like the Zanpakuto in my hand. Asido showed Zanpakuto to Uchiha Madara. The blade is sharp and translucent. Although it does not look any different from ordinary Taidao, it contains a mysterious power. Zanpakuto. Zanpakuto is the unique sword of each Shinigami, born with Shinigami, and dying with Shinigami. This is Zanpakuto. Cut, it's just a blade with a special material. No, Zanpakuto is not as simple as you think, Uchiha Madara. Each is different, and its shape and ability are modeled after the Shinigami's own soul. Shinigami know the name of Zanpakuto that they have given themselves, through have a spiritual dialogue with it to gain power. Each Zanpakuto has its own soul, thought, and character, so don't think it is a weapon. Uchiha Madara said thoughtfully. I see, Zanpakuto has a soul, no wonder I feel a special wave from that knife. Asido suddenly shifted his gaze to the snake-shaped long sword in Uchiha Madara's hand, and said solemnly, but, the sword in your hand seems to have a soul. Soul. Uchiha Madara was stunned, and then jokingly said, don't be kidding, this sword is just the ordinary blade I have after I transformed into Jillian, there is no soul at all. Madara naturally didn't believe Asido's words, because he was very familiar with this sword, which was the miniature version of the four swords on Susanoo's body. Maybe it's my illusion. If you have the opportunity to go to the Soul Society, the answer will naturally be revealed. Asido laughed dumbfounded, and didn't get too entangled in this topic. He then said, what happened to the trick you used earlier? Ninjutsu, that is the ninjutsu that we ninjas must practice. Originally, chakra was needed as a medium to activate it. But after coming to this world, Reiatsu can also trigger ninjutsu, and the power of ninjutsu is even stronger. This is also the only gratifying place for Madara at present. Due to the increase in the power of ninjutsu, to some extent, his strength has also become stronger. I see, it's amazing. In addition to the power of Shinigami and Hollow, you actually have a brand new power. Asido praised. I don't know what kind of changes will happen when the power of Shinigami, virtual, and ninja exists in your body, it's really exciting. I have nothing against Shinigami's power, but for now, I don't feel that Hollow's power has any effect. Uchiha Madara said disdainfully. Apart from the virtual high-speed regeneration, he has never gained any other powers. Whether it is ninjutsu or blood wheel eyes, they are all things he possessed in his previous life, and they cannot be regarded as virtual talents. Asido shook his head and said with a smile, that's because you haven't evolved to a higher level of Shu, so you can't have powerful abilities. Speaking of which, do you have any plans in the future? Intent, only power. I long for power, long for battle. Only the depths of Hawako Mundo is where I should be. Uchiha Madara raised his snake-shaped long sword and slashed at Asido fiercely, roaring, raise your Zanpakuto and fight with me. Clang. This time Asido was merciless and responded fiercely to Uchiha Madara, and a fierce battle broke out in the cave. Gradually, time flies. In a blink of an eye, 3 months have passed. During these 3 months, Uchiha Madara, in addition to fighting with Asido, also hunted Shu in the Manos Grande forest together. By continuously devouring Jillian, the Reiatsu in Madara's body has become bigger and bigger, and the control of the body has become more proficient. This also shows that it is finally time to say goodbye. In the past 3 months, Uchiha Madara's strength has grown by leaps and bounds, and Reiatsu has gradually become stronger, completely surpassing ordinary Jillian. It took only 3 months and surpassed decades of effort. This is not only because of Uchiha Madara's superb talent and unparalleled wisdom, but also because of Asido's help. Due to staying in the Manos Grande forest for hundreds of years, Asido's strength has reached an unfathomable level. Even if he doesn't know Bankai, not even Shikai can fully grasp it. But in the three aspects of Zanji, Shunpo, and Reiatsu, they have reached the point of perfection. It was even easier for Asido to kill a Jillian than a chicken. Therefore, with the assistance of Asido, Uchiha Madara has fully adapted to this Susanoo body. As Reiatsu grows stronger, the armor covering his body also becomes harder. In addition to hunting Shu, Uchiha Madara and Asido often compete with each other on weekdays, and there are constant collisions between ninjutsu and kidojutsu. Over time, Uchiha Madara also gained a certain understanding of Kido and Bakudo techniques. In the end, 3 months passed silently. It's finally time to part. Are you still willing to stay here? That's right, maybe this is my destination. As you said, since 200 years have been revived like this, it also shows that the times have changed, and it doesn't make much sense whether I return to Soul Society or not. Quote. Asido thought for a long time, and finally chose to stay in the Manos Grande forest. He still can't forget the past, and can't let go of the ambition in his heart. Only dying alone where your best friend died is the best ending. To untie the bell, one must tie it, but the knot in the heart can never be untied. Because the group of comrades in arms who carried this hard knot at the beginning has disappeared, and the memory with time has disappeared. Pity. After getting along for this period of time, Uchiha Madara has recognized Asido's strength. It is a pity that such a strong man gave up his heart. What about you? Going to the Soul Society? Asido also recognized Uchiha Madara. He didn't see Madara as a ghost, but thought he was a person with great love. Haughty, arrogant, and warlike, this is the temperament Asido saw from Uchiha Madara. Although Madara's words are full of supercilious haughty, Asido is not disgusted at all, but takes it for granted. This is Madara's unique personality charm. Compared to the boring Hawako Mundo, the world of Soul Society is definitely more exciting. Kidoshu, Zanpakudo, Gote 13, Lingwang Palace, etc. What's more, Shinigami don't just know how to kill and devour. They have emotions and bonds between partners. This alone is similar to ninjas, so Soul Society is the perfect place for Uchiha Madara. Soul Society. I will set foot sooner or later. But I haven't met the real Vasto Lord yet, so how can I leave Hawako Mundo so soon? There was a strong fighting intent in Madara's eyes. Defeating the Vasto Lord and devouring their power is Madara's real purpose. Devour enough void to regain lost power, awaken the Rinnegan, and possess the power of God again. That's what Uchiha Madara cares about most. I see. Asido didn't say anything more. He didn't doubt Madara's words. Even if there were no more than 5 Vasto Lords in the whole Hawako Mundo, he firmly believed that Madara would be able to evolve into Vasto Lord. I hope you won't be killed by Shu before we meet next time, it would be too boring. Leaving a mocking word, Uchiha Madara turned and left the cave. Seeing Madara's back fading away, Asido suddenly had a strong premonition. Perhaps in the near future, Uchiha Madara will turn the entire Hawako Mundo upside down. Uchiha Madara, he can definitely do it. The night is vast and the yellow sand is flying. Fire style, great fireball technique. Another mighty Jillian fell as a gigantic great fireball exploded in the desert. This is Uchiha Madara's 6th month at Hawako Mundo and his 3rd since he and Asido separated. I don't know how many heads have been swallowed, but Uchiha Madara's strength has already reached the top of Jillian by leaps and bounds, only one step away from Ijuka's. Under the icy cold moon, Uchiha Madara's figure looks so lonely. In this world where only killing is the theme, no one understands the inner fetters of Madara. Hunting and anti-killing, devouring and killing, it seems that apart from these two things, there is no survival target. But even so, Uchiha Madara still enjoys the feeling of getting stronger through the days of hell. Although Jillian here is getting stronger and stronger, it's still not enough. Uchiha Madara looked ahead, and the vast desert seemed to have no end in sight. According to the memory obtained from swallowing, Uchiha Madara also has a certain understanding of the interior of Hawako Mundo. In the innermost part of Hawako Mundo, there is a huge stronghold named Zai Palace. The name of Zai Palace sounds tall, but in fact it is just a stronghold composed of many broken walls standing on the desert. It is not this that interests Uchiha Madara the most, but the owner of the Void Palace, Baragan Lusenbairn. Uchiha Madara learns that Baragan is not only the master of the Night Palace, but also a powerful Vasto Lord. So his other identity is more attractive to Uchiha Madara. Ruler of Hueco Mundo, Supreme King, Skeleton Lord Baragan. As the Skeleton King, really interesting. Uchiha Madara's eyes are full of fighting spirit. Before going to Soul Society, his only goal is to evolve to Vasto Lord, so as to naturally Urankar. I don't know how powerful the real Vasto Lord will be. Somewhere inside Hueco Mundo, apart from the barren desert, there are rarely a few dilapidated buildings. Although the scale is small, it is enough to be used as a stronghold. At this time, several emotionless cold voices sounded in the stronghold, breaking the silence of the night. Do you feel it, Eldorado? Feeling? What kind of feeling do you mean, Xiaolong? We may have reached the end. What do you mean by that? Are you laughing at our efforts? Don't lie to yourself, Ilford, don't you know if you can evolve into a Jukas? I say I give up because I understand, we can't possibly be the top Manos Grande. We can't feel the increase in power after we've devoured 1,000 voids. So far, we have even preyed on 3,000 ghosts, but the strength is still stagnant. I know very well that there is no doubt if this continues. We have no qualifications to become kings at all, except for that person. Xiaolong, you mean Grimjiao? That's right, no matter how much we want to admit it, Grimjiao is different from us. He is born with the aptitude to become a growth king, and his evolution into a Jukas is the best proof. Well, what shall we do then? Follow Grimjiao, and only follow him, defend him, and protect us when he becomes true king. I'm really not reconciled, Xiaolong. But you're right, I had this feeling a long time ago. Whether I can become the highest level Manos Grande, I'm afraid it was when I was still an ordinary void, or even earlier. It's doomed. I think everyone knows this, but they just don't want to admit it. You're right, Diloy. From the moment we became hollow, we were destined to be middle-level Manos Grande, and the road to becoming Vasto Lord has come to an end long ago. There was loss and unwillingness in these cold voices. Like Uchiha Madara at this stage, they are only one step away from Jukas, but the gap between the two is very different. Uchiha Madara has the potential to be a Vasto Lord, and they've long since given up hope. Xiaolong, Eldorado, Duroy, Ilford. The 4 Jillians occupied this stronghold and moved together. At this point they agreed to follow Grimjiao and make him their leader. It's just that this discussion was interrupted in the middle. Xiaolong's face suddenly changed, he looked into the distance in surprise, and murmured in disbelief, this Reiatsu is actually a new void. What's the matter, Xiaolong? Come on, come out with me and have a look, I feel an unprecedented powerful aura. When the 4 of them walked out of the stronghold, they saw a figure walking towards them. Uchiha Madara. This Reiatsu is almost at the level of a Jukas. Xiaolong was shocked, he was only one step away from evolving to a Jukas, even if there were not many virtuals of this level, they were not common. What's more, they have never induced Uchiha Madara's Reiatsu in this area. Who is he? Why did he come out suddenly? The 4 looked suspiciously at the figure that was getting closer and closer, feeling a strong sense of power in their hearts. They could feel that Uchiha Madara did not appear in front of them hastily, but was really prepared. Xiaolong, what should we do? Duroy's breathing was a little short, and every time Uchiha Madara's figure got closer, he became more and more frightened. Not because Uchiha Madara's Reiatsu is stronger than him, but because of that invisible momentum. Supercilious Haki. Have you noticed that his aura is very similar to Grimjiao? That is the aura that only a king possesses. Even though Eldorado's body was huge, when he said these words, his body couldn't help but tremble. Not trembling with excitement, but with genuine fear. Anyone with the temperament of a king has the opportunity to evolve into an Jukas or even a Vasto Lord. In other words, their potential is unlimited. The only thing they can do now is to kill Uchiha Madara before he evolves into a Jukas. This is still a game of hunter and prey, but Xiaolong and the others are playing the role of prey. But are they really willing to be devoured by Uchiha Madara? Do not. Angry emotions gradually came to my heart, unable to become a Jukas, and being stared at by Uchiha Madara again. Under the new hatred and the old hatred, the killing intent that had been suppressed for a long time finally broke out. Are you ready? Xiaolong raised his sharp claw, his eyes flickered with coldness. His body shape is very special, long and thin, his mask is an inverted boat-shaped helmet, and his two hands are like two pairs of long blade-like claws, which can easily pierce through any hollow body. As the strongest of the four, when Xiaolong decides to make a move, it means that they are about to launch an attack on Uchiha Madara. HMPH, it's too arrogant to dare to come to the door alone, even with the aptitude of a king. Eldorado's body is a volcanic beast. He not only possesses brute force but also can control flames. His strength should not be underestimated. Get rid of him. Maybe we still have a chance to evolve after eating his corpse. Ilford did not give up, still holding on to his last hope. The reason why he is so stubborn is because he is not willing to lose to his younger brother, the madman who is devoted to research, Zael Aporo. At the beginning, the two brothers became virtual, but the power they obtained was different due to their different aptitudes. Over time, Zael Aporo has evolved into a Jukas, and Ilford is still Jillian, which makes him unhappy. As long as I eat him, I can evolve into a Jukas. At that time, even Zael Aporo has no right to show off in front of me. With beautiful fantasies, Urfort's murderous intent became more and more intense, and he couldn't wait to eat Uchiha Madara. Brush. It was beyond everyone's expectations, and they hadn't waited for them to take the initiative to launch an offensive. The figure of Uchiha Madara took the initiative to appear in front of them. Great eyes, it seems that you really want to kill me, right? Uchiha Madara appeared on a sand pile, looking down at them from a height. While provoking, Madara also took the opportunity to observe the four of Xiaolong. HMPH, what an arrogant guy. Even the real Ajukas have no right to be arrogant in front of us, let alone you. Eldorado didn't take Madara seriously, just because Madara's size was so small that it looked vulnerable. Ajukas, it seems that you have had contact with Ajukas before. Uchiha Madara caught the clues from Eldorado's words, and the excitement in her eyes became more and more intense, and in the end she even trembled all over. It was the excitement that would come from meeting a strong man. Madara was tired of hunting Jillian, it was so boring. Only by fighting Ajukas can the blood in his body be awakened. In that case, then I will eat you here, absorb your memories, and then go find that Ajukas. Get rid of us, Eldorado sneered. Don't think that we are classified as the same as the garbage you encountered before. Have you ever seen our strength? Humph. Deloy was the most unhappy of the four. He has a bandage around his head, from the injury he got when he first met Grimjow, which caused his strength to stagnate. Even when it comes to following Grimjow, Deloy isn't willing. Now that he sees the same temperament in Uchiha Madara, he is naturally even more upset. Go to hell, I don't know how much I have devoured an arrogant guy like you. Deloy rushed out first, attacking mercilessly. Don't bluff casually, that will only expose your weakness. Although Deloy was fast, he still couldn't escape the capture of the two Guyu Sharingan. Under the blessing of Tongli, Deloy's movements seemed to slow down dozens of times, so there were many flaws. Clang. Despite Deloy's menacing approach, the sharp claws still collided with the snake-shaped long sword. Accompanied by the crisp sound, Deloy was shocked back instead. Too weak, your strength is not enough. The cold eyes were full of contempt. Uchiha Madara didn't care about Deloy at all. His attention was all on Xiaolong's body, only those sharp claws could make Madara fear 3 points. Really, that's a shame, we're not going to be one-on-one. Suddenly, the figures of Xiaolong, Eldorado, and Urfort disappeared from the field of vision. The next moment, Uchiha Madara's body was pierced. How is this speed possible? Uchiha Madara was shocked. His body had been pierced by 3 arms, and his life was hanging by a thread. HMPH. This is the unique speed of ringing. No matter how fast the reaction is, it can't move faster than space. As if the winning ticket was already in his hands, Xiaolong said casually, 4-1, don't blame us for being mean, just because you have the same potential as Grimjow, that is too dangerous for us. Go with remorse. You can only blame yourself for being too arrogant and believing in your own strength. Such tragedies are happening every day in Hueco Mundo, and you are just a poor part of it. With merciless taunting, Eldorado shredded Uchiha Madara's body with brute force. However, until the moment of death, Madara's expression not only showed no panic or arrogance, but was completely under control. Looking at Uchiha Madara's expression, although Xiaolong disdained it, the dangerous feeling not only did not disappear, but became stronger and stronger. Who told you you succeeded? Suddenly, Uchiha Madara's voice sounded like a ghost, and Xiaolong and the others turned around quickly, but they didn't expect that the ground under their feet suddenly collapsed, and instead turned into sticky mud. Earth-style, Wangquan Swamp. Because they didn't guard against this move, Xiaolong and the others fell into the mud in a panic. These silts are like no other, infused with Uchiha Madara's Reiatsu. The viscosity is many times stronger than before. For a moment, the four of Xiaolong were restricted in their movements. What the hell is going on? Isn't he already dead? Deroy struggled desperately, but the more he struggled, the deeper he sank. When his eyes shifted to the Uchiha Madara behind him, he found that it turned out to be a false image. The corner of Uchiha Madara raised a sarcastic arc, and then dissipated into a puff of white mist with a bang. Shadow clone technique. How is it possible? What kind of ability is this? Even the calmest Xiaolong was frightened. Phantom, this ability is too scary. You don't need to show such a surprised expression, just a shadow clone can surprise you, it really disappoints me. The figure of Uchiha Madara reappeared in Xiaolong's field of vision. Madara was unscathed, with no wounds on her body. Phantom, I have to say that it is a terrifying ability. However, just a phantom does not have offensive power, and it is impossible to defeat us. Xiaolong sneered and regained his composure. Due to the superiority in numbers, this battle has already doomed everything. Just one. The corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth curled up. He made mudras with both hands, and a dozen shadow clones reappeared with a bang. Don't blame me for being mean, just because you have an advantage in numbers, that would be too dangerous for me. With a hint of irony, Uchiha Madara doubled what Xiaolong said earlier. Multiple shadow clone technique. 20 shadow clones surrounded Xiaolong and the others. The identical expression, the piercing eyes, and the sharp snake-shaped long sword made Xiaolong feel unprecedented anxiety. Who on earth is he? Why does he have this power, and does Jillian really have it? With all kinds of doubts in his heart, Xiaolong's face began to turn livid, and he felt as if underestimated Uchiha Madara's strength. HMPH, it's just an illusion, this kind of trick is useless in front of Reiatsu. Xiaolong stabilized his mood, and with a roar, the majestic Reiatsu gushed out of his body. This Reiatsu is almost comparable to Ijuka's. I recognize your strength. In front of the imposing Reiatsu, Uchiha Madara not only did not panic at all, but became more excited. The blood is boiling and the fighting spirit is burning. Only by fighting the strong can Uchiha Madara's fighting spirit be awakened. It's just that the expressions of Xiaolong and the others are completely different. Uchiha Madara's excited expression seems to them. It's simply a humiliation. Ha, it seems that we have been underestimated. The city of Erfurt is the deepest. He did not show the slightest anger, but a stern look emerged from the corner of his mouth. Smile. Endless chill bloomed in that smile. Ring and turn. Almost without any warning, Elfert's figure disappeared before Madara's eyes. It's just that this raid was useless. With 2 Tomo Sharingan, Uchiha Madara easily caught his trail. Lightning style, let's go. Uchiha Madara made a decisive decision, and the lightning released by both hands continued to spread across the ground. His surroundings turned into an electrostatic force field, which happened to be the place where Erfurt appeared the next moment. God predicts. How is it possible? He actually caught my tracks completely. Ilford was horrified. His feet had been paralyzed by lightning and he couldn't move. More importantly, when Ilford looked into Uchiha Madara's eyes, he felt a death-like fear. Goosebumps and chills stood on end, and cold sweat had already wet his back. The 2 Tomo Sharingan seems to contain endless magic power, which makes people unable to help but feel psychologically defeated. Powerless, fearful, the pair of blood-red pupils looked even more eerie under the light of the cold moon. As a ghost that grew up in the bloody sea of corpses, Ilford would feel powerless to resist because of fear. How is this possible? No one can make me feel like this except Zael Aporo. No one can humiliate me, no one can get ahead of me, go to hell. As a proud person, Ilford could no longer keep his composure. The anger he had suppressed for a long time erupted like a volcano. Out of control, he finally let down his vigilance and killed Uchiha Madara. However, This seemingly dominant behavior is what Uchiha Madara wants to see the most, because this stupid impulse is full of loopholes. Spinning, I will too, and faster than you. As soon as the words fell, the figure of Uchiha Madara had already appeared in Ilford's hands, and the sharp snake-shaped spear pierced his body mercilessly. Puff! Blood splattered everywhere, and icy blood flowers flew, embellishing this silent night with a touch of desolation. As I said before, your actions are full of flaws. Willpower and strength cannot be compared. If you have anger but no corresponding strength, such a person is not only worthy of growing into a reckless man. Fire style, big flame bomb. A fiery bomb spit out from Uchiha Madara's mouth, hit the wound and exploded. Wow! Ilford let out a horrific wail. His flesh and blood were burned by the flames, the feeling was worse than death, and even Reiatsu was burned to death. I must kill you with my own hands. Seemingly exhausted, Ilford swung his claws to kill Uchiha Madara. Endless anger and murderous intent caused Ilford to burst out his tenacious will at the last moment of his life. I seem to have said that your actions were superfluous. Without too many words, just swaying the blade lightly, Ilford's arm was chopped off shoulder to shoulder. What? There was remorse and self-blame in this wailing, and Ilford finally fell down. Since all this happened between the fire and light stones, when the three of Xiaolong reacted, they could only see a fallen corpse. You actually killed Ilford. For a moment, angry killing intent enveloped the night sky. You actually killed Ilford. An incredible roar broke the silence of the night. It has to be said that all of this happened too suddenly, and Ilford fell down between the fire and light stones. Looking at Ilford's body, Xiaolong took a deep breath. Even though he is an emotionless Shu, he still understands the word, partner. They were able to evolve to the mid-level Manos Grande, traveling through countless ages, loving each other until the moment their dreams died. But Uchiha Madara killed everything himself. Ilford fell. What does that mean? The bond between partners has been broken. What is lost is not just Ilford's life, but the belief that has been upheld all along, the belief that evolved into Ijukas together. The disappearance of the fetters means that winter is coming. The icy moonlight was as pale as the face of a dead man. In this barren land, a crazy idea was brewing at a very high speed. You killed Ilford. Just a few words, but contained endless anger. Only when a person is angry to the ultimate can he make such a loud sound. So what? Make no mistake, it's not a fact that can be changed by questioning. I don't think you realize it's a game between hunter and prey, and it's either survival or death, nothing else. Choose. Uchiha Madara is as calm as ever. He has long adapted to the Haweko Mundo's forest law, and can calmly face even the cruelest desperate situation. Haweko Mundo is not an abyss. Haweko Mundo is not an impasse. Haweko Mundo is a ladder. Many illusions climbed up and failed, and never got the chance to turn back, because they fell and died as Reiatsu inside someone else. Some virtual books have the opportunity to climb upwards, but they still fail. In this game of hunting, once you stand still, you will lose your chance to hunt forever. Only stairs are real. Climbing is what Haweko Mundo is all about. Do you know, your actions just now have made a huge mistake. Xiaolong took a deep breath and tried his best to restrain his rampage mentality. Really, I've made more mistakes in my life than you can imagine, but this isn't one of them. The corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth curled up into an arc of sarcasm. For the great love in his heart, he was willing to bear the curse and confront the entire ninja world, just for the eternal dream he pursued in his heart. Compared to everything that the ninja world has done, killing Ilford is just an insignificant thing, even no different from trampling an ant to death. That's all. You are really too arrogant. Unbearable, Xiaolong finally broke out. He decides to tear Uchiha Madara to shreds no matter what. Bite his flesh and blood, devour his Reiatsu, and occupy his soul, not only to vent his anger, but also to pay homage to Ilford's death. Only by killing Uchiha Madara can the inner anger be appeased. Ring and turn. Regardless of all impulses, there was a frightening cold light on the pair of sharp claws. Stop saying such naive words. If you want to kill me, show your real strength. Uchiha Madara formed a mudra with both hands, and spit out a huge great fireball. Not only that, the two Tomo Sharingan turned and copied Xiaolong's movements. He swung the long serpentine sword with his backhand, hitting the sharp claws with incomparable precision. Clang! The crisp sound was accompanied by blood and bone fighting. Uchiha Madara's long hair was flying, and her steps were orderly. The more he fights, the more excited he is. The crisp sound of the sharp blades colliding with each other is like that wonderful note, exciting. The roar is like the beautiful melody, dancing gracefully. The cold moon shrouded, yellow sand flew, and a crimson flash swept across the earth, illuminating the eternal night. Sero, not only Xiaolong, but also Eldorado and Diaroi joined the battlefield. Despite their numerical superiority, they were unable to overwhelm Uchiha Madara. What made them even more desperate was that the balance of victory gradually tilted towards Uchiha Madara. Brush. It was another crisp slash, and one of Diloi's arms was severed. He was out of breath, and his face gradually became gloomy. Only by playing against Uchiha Madara in person can you experience the latter's supercilious haki. It's not arrogance, it's just because the two are not in the same pattern from the beginning. What's the matter? Is it only to this extent? That would disappoint me too much. Anger alone is not enough. Although Uchiha Madara also has scars on his body, his aura is more vigorous, and his fighting instinct makes him full of energy. If it's only to this extent, then this boring game can be over. Uchiha Madara took a deep breath and made a mudra with both hands. The cold wind blows, like the never-ending winter. Uchiha Madara's hands were stained with blood, turning into a scarlet in the night. With momentum like a rainbow, Uchiha Madara has the upper hand in this hunting game, and he doesn't want to waste any more time. You don't want to defeat us, because you are not qualified yet. Xiaolong opened his mouth and blasted out another Sero. Sero, that kind of trick doesn't work for me at all, and besides, me too. Uchiha Madara made a move that shocked Xiaolong and the others. Madara raised her two fingers, and a red flash bloomed on her fingertips. Boom. Fast and majestic, with a fiery fire attribute of Reiatsu. Uchiha Madara's Sero is obviously many times stronger than ordinary Sero. Just from this alone, he is destined to be not an ordinary void. The red flash penetrated Diloi's body easily, simple and brutal. As the weakest of the four, Diloi was stunned. When he lowered his head, he saw a bloody hole. How is this possible? I am going to die. Diloi opened his eyes tightly, unable to believe this scene at all. Even if he is a weak person, he still has the heart of a strong person, so he is not reconciled to being strangled in the cradle like this. With cold limbs and shambling steps, Diloi was like a candle flickering in the wind, ready to go out at any moment. Kill you, I want to kill you. As if exhausting his last strength, when Diloi came to Uchiha Madara with difficulty, the pair of claws with murderous intent and anger stopped in midair. His eyes were empty and dull. At the last moment before the temporary, apart from the deep hatred for Uchiha Madara, there was only the cold arc hanging on the corner of Madara's mouth. It turns out that I'm so fragile. It turns out that I'm so vulnerable. It's a pity that I couldn't kill you with my own hands. With the last sliver of sanity broken, Diloi finally died with resentment, and he tragically became the second victim of this hunting game. When participating in the siege, there is unprecedented greed, but at the end of the game, it is an ending that has never been imagined. Since it begins with blood, it must end with blood, but the price is expensive life. You hateful monster, I will kill you. Eldorado's eyes were red, and he could no longer restrain his usual caution. Although he looked down on Diloi, as partners who had been with each other day and night, at least the bond between them still existed. Go to hell, Volcano Fist. Eldorado's body is a huge volcanic beast, and this punch contains scorching flames. However, the seemingly fierce offensive found the wrong opponent. He doesn't know that Uchiha Madara is himself a ninjutsu master who specializes in fire style. Monster, I think you misunderstood. In this cold world, there is no creature more terrifying than Shu himself. Uchiha Madara formed a mudra with both hands, and immediately launched a fierce counterattack. Fire-style fire extinguishment. Huge flames spit out from Uchiha Madara's mouth, forming a raging sea of flames and rushing towards Eldorado and Xiaolong. This move against the fire-style ninjutsu used by the coalition forces requires 20 water-style ninjas to join forces to resist it, let alone a little Eldorado. Strong, crushing, irresistible, almost without encountering any resistance, the scorching flames engulfed Eldorado's body. Before he died, Eldorado seemed to be trying his best to push Xiaolong away with his tenacious will, making him out of the burning range of the Sea of Fire. Boom! Eldorado was scorched black all over by the flames, and finally fell to the ground powerlessly. This hunting game has come to an end here, and the ending is obvious. Apart from witnessing the death of his companions one after another, Xiaolong couldn't do anything to save them. As Uchiha Madara said, it's not that their will is not enough, it's not that they are not united enough. It's just that the pure pattern is too different. What's the matter, do you still want to resist now? Uchiha Madara is like a rainbow, taking steps like a Shinigami. Every step he took meant that Xiaolong was speeding up his death. In addition to the huge gap in strength, Xiaolong's psychological defense also collapsed, and he was powerless after all revolving heaven. Clang! With a flash of purple light, the dark night seemed to have fallen into a stillness. The bright moon shines, silently. Except for a head with a horrified expression rolling to the ground, there was no other sound. The pale moonlight like the face of a dead man poured down on the earth, and under the hazy moonlight there was only the gradually converging river of blood. When this battle engraved with blood and tears is over, under the dark and silent night sky, there is only calm and calm. In addition to loneliness, there is only silence, without any unnecessary sound. Uchiha Madara stood alone on the sand dune, his hands were covered with blood, and the snake-shaped long sword kept dropping blood drops. Tick, tick, every drop of blood seems to add a few beautiful notes to this silent moment. The melody of death is not an elegy, but the origin of the road to the rise of the strong. Under the light of the cold moon, the figure of Uchiha Madara is like a sharp sword in the dark, welcoming the light of dawn. Also like the guards on the Great Wall, the horn to awaken the sleepers. Looking at the four appalling corpses on the ground, there was no fear in Uchiha Madara's eyes, but he was trembling. Not only the trembling of the body, but also the trembling of the soul, because Madara felt the call of power from the corpse, which was the unique resonance of Ijuka's. When one is nothing, there is nothing to be afraid of. What's more, Uchiha Madara is just a ghost, even though he still has a human heart, he still can't get rid of his identity as a ghost. Primitive and brutal void, it must follow Hueco Mundo's forest law. The law of the jungle preys on the strong and destroys humanity. Forget the past, cut off the fetters, the only thing Madara can do is devour. Only by constantly devouring and evolving can one find oneself. Natural rancarization, that is Madara's only pursuit. As puny Jillians, you can't see anything. The distant future. The harsh reality. Uchiha Madara didn't feel any pity for Xiaolong's bond with them. In this hell-like world of desperation, hunting is a very common thing. Perhaps Xiaolong's four people's obsession with the fetters before their death resonated in Madara's heart, making him think of Senju Hashirama involuntarily. But this thought flashed by without causing any waves. When the night falls and the cold wind blows, killing is already a doomed thing. In this dark world, there is no distinction between good and evil, and there is no distinction between strong and weak. There are no shadows in the dark. The shadow is exclusive to the strong and the weapon of the hunter. Only the brightest firelight can cast the darkest shadows. That is, a strong heart that always yearns for power. The four of them are only one step away from Ijuka's. As long as I devour them, I will be able to evolve smoothly. There was a sense of anticipation in Uchiha Madara that he hadn't seen in a long time, and he couldn't wait to evolve into Ijuka's. 6 months have passed since the last transformation. Although as Reiatsu continues to grow, his pupil power also becomes stronger, but after all, it is a 2-Guyu Sharingan and cannot evolve into a 3-Tomo Sharingan. Even his body shape is the same, although the armor has become stronger, but the shape has never changed. Even if he couldn't see or touch it, Uchiha Madara could still feel a great gate erected in front of him. Only by opening this door can one step into another level of life. Ijuka's is a natural mode in Hueco Mundo, a threshold that the weak cannot cross. Only by evolving into Ijuka's can you be qualified to become a real powerhouse. Uchiha Madara came to the corpses of the four of Xiaolong, and the moment he closed his eyes, their bodies were covered with a layer of blue fluorescent light. It was the spirit seed gushing out of the body. Devour, evolve. At this moment, all spirits poured into Uchiha Madara's body continuously, turning into the purest power. Compared to the entire Hueco Mundo, the power Xiaolong and the others possess may be insignificant. But for this Uchiha Madara, enough is enough. That's enough power to transform him into a Jukas. The blue spiritual seeds kept flocking to Uchiha Madara, feeling the gradually exuberant power in his body. The corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth curled up. As long as he evolves into a Jukas, he has the right to chase the wider sky. From then on, it is no longer necessary to fight these ordinary Jillians who look like ants to him. The only ones who are really qualified to be Uchiha Madara's opponents are Jukas who have superhuman intelligence. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, the 4 figures of Xiaolong disappeared without a trace. They have been completely swallowed by Madara, and everything has been absorbed by Madara. Memory, power, and spiritual particles were all injected into Madara's body. The long-awaited evolution has finally arrived. When all the spirits were integrated into Uchiha Madara's body, he finally completed his transformation. A black white of the eyes transformed from the pupils, and then turned into a black guyu. 3 individual hook jades rotate around the pupil, and the turning track seems to contain endless pupil power. 3 Tomo Sharingan. When Sharingan only had 2 hooks, he could only see through the trajectory of high-speed actions and copy some moves, but did not have the ability to cast illusions. But 3 Tomo Sharingan is a world of difference. After evolving to 3 Tomo Sharingan, in addition to sharper insight, it also has the ability of hypnosis. More importantly, Uchiha Madara's use of Sharingan has reached its pinnacle, and it is even more capable of exerting the power of Sharingan. Not only the pupil strength has changed, but even the body shape has undergone earth-shaking changes. It is no longer the second form of Susanoo, and even the surface of the body is covered with a layer of armor in the shape of Wu Tengu. Despite this, Uchiha Madara has become smaller and more humanoid in size. Even the snake-shaped long sword has changed. The whole body of the sword is white, not the same purple as Susanoo. It's not so much a color change, it's more like a Zanpakuto. If someone from the Soul Society saw it, they would definitely think that Uchiha Madara was a Shinigami wearing armor, and the long sword is the best proof. Strength, pupil power, humanity. As time goes by, what was once lost gradually returns to Uchiha Madara. He gradually got rid of the shackles of Shu and became more like a human being. Roar. Every cell in the body was burning, and feeling the continuous power, Uchiha Madara couldn't help roaring to the sky. This strong Reiatsu actually formed a beam of light, bursting out from Uchiha Madara's body, and even the nearby range was affected by Reiatsu. The terrifying Reiatsu frightened the surroundings, as if showing the power of Uchiha Madara. Meanwhile, when Uchiha Madara's Reiatsu shot straight into the sky, it caused an uproar within Haweko Mundo. One of the methods is a mountain of bones made up of countless empty corpses, and a figure of Haki is condescending, staring coldly at the direction of Reiatsu's outbreak. As this Reiatsu, newly evolved a Jukas. This Shu is not human-like, but a cheetah showing its sharpness. His azure blue eyes are like 2 sharp blades, and he has the aptitude of a king. Leopard King, Grimjow. Beside the pile of corpses, a burly figure guarded respectfully. It's just that when he sensed Reiatsu's direction, his face was as pale as a dead man's face. How can that be? This burly figure murmured inconceivably. His name was Nakim, he was a Jillian who was about to break through, and he was also Grimjow's follower, and he was also one of Xiaolong's 4 partners. It was because of Nakim's proposal that Xiaolong and the others had the idea of following Grimjow. When Nakim sensed the source of the Reiatsu, a desperate thought rose in his heart, that is, Xiaolong and the others were killed. To break through from Jillian to a Jukas, in addition to possessing natural aptitude, one also needs to devour Manos Grande of the same level. Apart from thinking of Xiaolong and the others being killed, Nakim couldn't think of any other reason that would lead to the birth of a Jillian for no reason. Master Grimjow, maybe Xiaolong and the others. Nakim's voice trembled, and even though he had prepared for the worst, it was difficult for him to speak. What happened to them? Grimjow's voice was cold and unfeeling, as if displeased with Nakim's hesitation. Xiaolong and the others are likely to be devoured. Nakim finally told the tragic truth. You mean the newborn Ajukas? Grimjow's eyes burst into a flash of brilliance, with a faint flicker of fierceness. Although he looked down on Xiaolong and the others, he also regarded them as his subordinates. However, his subordinates were swallowed by a mysterious void, and evolved into Ajukas. This tone must not be tolerated. Chapter 31. Deep in the Hueco Mundo is a palace filled with darkness and silence. Strictly speaking, this place is not a palace, but a huge stronghold composed of countless ruined walls. A place that countless people yearn for and fear. Void Night Palace. The reason why the palace looks dilapidated is that it has no canopy and does not need a canopy. For the Skeleton King, the entire Hueco Mundo is his palace, and this dark and hopeless sky is the best canopy. This Reiatsu, is it the birth of new Ajukas? It's really rare, but at the end of the palace, in a dark and gloomy corner, stood a tall throne. Sitting on the throne was a not-so-tall figure. Dressed in a luxurious purple dress and wearing a skull crown, the seemingly fragile body exudes a powerful Reiatsu, making people suffocated, depressed, and even breathless. It is the ruler of Hueco Mundo, the Skeleton King who has been described as a god by countless people. Baragan. Ruzenbang. As the ruler of the Hueco Mundo, Baragan holds supreme authority. He is the king of Hueco Mundo, he is the god of all humble hearts, sacred and inviolable. Below the throne, many tall figures stood side by side. They were either standing or sitting, but they all looked at the figure on the throne with awe. Among these Manos Grandes, there are many Manos Grandes with the price of Ajukas, but they are loyal to Baragan. Just like the loyal soldiers guarding the king, and worshipping the gods like the devout believers. There seems to be more than one Ajukas in that direction. Baragan leaned on the throne and said casually, "Your Majesty, I have set foot in that area. Besides the newly born Ajukas, there may be Grimjow." A humanoid Manos Grande stood reverently before the throne, looking at Baragan with only fanatical admiration. Grimjow. At the mention of this name, Baragan's eyes flashed fiercely. Even if he is powerful enough to take over the entire Hueco Mundo, there are still many thorns who refuse to submit to him, and Grimjow is one of them. It's him again, and it looks like Grimjow has something to do with the new Ajukas this time around. Interesting. Baragan looked at the several figures under the throne, and said casually, "Charlotte Kulufeng, Abaramalita, Fendor Gylias, Shinan Bo. The four of you go come, bring me back Grimjow, and that mysterious Ajukas too." Four Manos Grandes of different shapes knelt on the ground respectfully. They were all the best of Baragan's subordinates, and their strength was not inferior to that of Ajukas. "Don't worry, Your Majesty. With the four of us attacking together, no matter how strong that guy Grimjow is, he won't be able to escape Your Majesty's palm." Although the leader Charlotte Tekurufu has a rough face, her words and deeds reveal a feminine charm. "HMPH, let's go. The boring days are too long. I don't know what kind of surprises the newly born Ajukas will bring me." Even the Skeleton King dislikes Charlotte Tekuru. His mind was on Grimjow and Uchiha Madara, and there was an inexplicable gleam in his eyes. "Yes, Your Majesty." Seemingly feeling the displeasure of the Skeleton Emperor, the four quickly lowered their heads and consciously left the throne. Although they are Baragan's confidants, they live in fear all the time, for fear that the Skeleton King will kill them easily. Back then, there was a Jillian who offended the Skeleton Emperor, but was turned into decay by Baragan using the power of aging. Only after seeing the power of aging, will you understand what is the real power of God. Control aging, control time, all creatures cannot escape the fate of decay. When these four figures disappeared, the huge Zai Palace resumed its previous orders. Except for Baragan who sat on the throne, the other Manos Grande lowered their heads, afraid of making eye contact with Baragan. Only fear from the heart can cause such a situation to happen. In addition to the darkness and emptiness, the entire Void Night Palace is left with deathly silence. Hueco Mundo somewhere, a blindfolded figure stood on top of a mountain pile of countless Manos Grande corpses. Although he is thin and thin, he has 6 arms. Each of the 6 hands held a sickle tightly. Under the shroud of the cold moon, the sharpness of the blade shone coldly, exuding a chilling and terrifying aura. This figure kept panting, obviously just experienced a big battle. "Cut, what a bunch of rubbish. A few hundred Zuman are no match for me. It's really a boring battle." This voice was full of contempt, and his face seemed to reveal a sense of boredom with the weak. Suddenly, when Uchiha Madara's Reiatsu struck, the figure froze at first, then smiled ecstatically. "This is the newly born Ajukas. Ha, only this strong man is qualified to be my Enenwatra opponent." A crazy look, accompanied by a strong fighting spirit. Enenwatra's figure disappeared into the night without a trace. Under the dark night sky, although the figure of Uchiha Madara is lonely, he has an indomitable aura. Especially after evolving into a Jukas, the Reiatsu in his body became more majestic. Unparalleled momentum, ruthless gaze, the three-goad jade that turns like a blood moon. Even after the sun falls, candlelight is irreplaceable. Only the most boiling blood can become the most dazzling light in the night. I think they should be able to feel my breath. Then the next thing is to wait for the good show to begin. I don't know what kind of battle you can bring me. The corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth curled up into a sinister arc. He wasn't reckless in exposing his Reiatsu. On the contrary, it's all under his control. Hueco Mundo is so big that it is boundless desert as far as the eye can see, and it can even be said to be vast. It is not easy to find a Jukas among them. After all, apart from the Void Night Palace in the center of Hueco Mundo, there are few footprints in most places. The purpose of actively releasing his own Reiatsu is to attract a Jukas to come to the door by himself. In this vast darkness, Uchiha Madara's Reiatsu is like a lighthouse that illuminates the route in the dark. That dazzling light is not only to show one's own strength, but also means provocation and fighting. Although this pupil power is not worth mentioning compared to the peak period, it is a good method. The reason why Uchiha Madara is not afraid of other Jukas is not only because of his confidence in his own strength, but also because of the two Tomo Sharingan. Copy tricks, see traces, and cast illusions. If it was in the ninja world, 3 Tomo Sharingan might not be that important. But in this primitive world that advocates violence and barbarism, there are almost no hollow who are good at using illusion, at least Uchiha Madara has not encountered it so far. The cold wind howled, and Uchiha Madara's long hair fluttered. Deathly silence, accompanied by a heavy and depressing atmosphere. As long as there is any trouble, it will be transmitted to Uchiha Madara's ears in an instant. Finally, the breath of expectation appeared. This smell, it's a Jukas. After transforming into a Jukas, Uchiha Madara's range of perception also expanded several times. He could clearly sense that the two breaths were approaching rapidly. One of the breaths is just a step away from Ijukas, but the other breath is the real Ijukas. Ijukas, it's just in time, otherwise I really wouldn't be able to arouse my interest in trying new ninjutsu. Uchiha Madara looked forward to it more and more, as if there was a cry of longing in her heart. Only by fighting can the blood be burned. Only by fighting can we gain strength. Only by fighting can the weak be judged. Fighting is the only theme in this cruel world. On the other side, not far from where Uchiha Madara was, 2 figures were rapidly approaching. Nakim, Grimmjow. The expressions of the two are different. Grimmjow sees nothing but combat arrogance, an almost frenzied desire to fight that speeds him along the way. But Nakim seemed a bit disappointed. The death of a partner who had been with him day and night was a major blow to him. Although he didn't want to admit it in his heart, Nakim still knew it well. Don't worry, I will kill him with my own hands, devour his body, and regain your power. There was madness in Nakim's eyes, so what if his opponent was a Jukas? For my companions, for the vows I made, for the bondage I once had, I must take revenge with my own hands. Can a man take revenge if he is afraid? Whether it is human or virtual, it will only become stronger when it is crazy. The closer you get, the more you can feel that huge Reiatsu. Really a Jukas. Great to finally find a decent opponent. Grimmjow was extremely excited, that pair of sharp claws clanging, that expression of genuine excitement. Nakim looked at Grimmjow's back, fearing and approving, and said coldly, Grimmjow, if you have the chance, please give me the chance to strike the fatal blow. What, you really want to kill him? Grimmjow watched Nakim with interest. It didn't matter to him whether he killed the Ajukas or not. The most important thing is to enjoy this battle. Only by killing him can we avenge Xiaolong and the others. As a ghost without a heart, Grimmjow was surprised that Nakim would say such a thing. However, Grimmjow immediately agreed with Nakim's request. After all, he also regarded the 4 of Xiaolong as his followers. Brush. After crossing a hill again, Grimmjow and Nakim finally came to the dilapidated stronghold. As soon as they got there, the figure standing on the hill instantly caught their attention. Uchiha Madara, finally I find you. When Grimmjow saw Uchiha Madara, the corners of Grimmjow's mouth curved sincerely. That look, Sure enough, you are that Ajukas. The dance of excitement was boiling, and Grimjow even let out a long whistle. There is no need for too many words, nor too many actions, just a look can explain everything. Only the eyes of the strong have the defiant haki. Grimjow couldn't see any fear in Madara's eyes, but a strong fighting spirit. That's great for Grimjow, because he's found a decent opponent. Are you Ajukas? Uchiha Madara looked at Grimjow calmly, and said meaningfully, I don't know who is stronger, you or the legendary master of Haweko Mundo. Haweko Mundo master. Grimjow was stunned, and then his face was gloomy, and he said coldly, you mean Baragan? Ha, he's just a crazy guy. Uchiha Madara's eyes flickered, and he smiled slightly, really? Then why do I see fear in your eyes? If I'm not mistaken, he should be the real Vasto Lord. As the master of Haweko Mundo, if he doesn't even have this strength, it's too shameful. Grimjow is not difficult. So what, he is just the oldest existence of Haweko Mundo, sooner or later I will become the real king, and now is my first step on the road of blood. Roar, shocking roar, accompanied by suffocating majestic Reiatsu. At this moment, the Reiatsu in Grimjow's body gushed out unreservedly, raging in all directions. What's your expression? Do you think you can kill me before you realize the gap between us? It's ridiculous. Uchiha Madara's hands are green, and Haki is looking down. Even staring at the Reiatsu brought by Grimjow, his expression didn't change. In this cruel world, there is no absolute strong, only absolute weak. There is no shortage of strong people, what is rare is being able to keep a strong heart. Looking at each other, apart from the silence, there is only the silent hatred and killing intent. Did you devour the four of Xiaolong and the others? Nazim could no longer restrain the killing intent in his heart, he couldn't wait to know the answer. Even though Xiaolong and the others had little chance of surviving, they still held on to the last glimmer of hope. That's right, they have been devoured by me, and I gained more power through this. But I saw anger in your eyes, it's ironic. Uchiha Madara sneered. Survival of the fittest and elimination of the weak is the iron rule in this cruel world. The weak work hard and the strong enjoy the benefits. There is no real fairness in this world, and everything is only for the strong. Quote. Nakim was unexpectedly calm, but the raging Reiatsu said it all. Unconcealable anger, accompanied by a shocking killing intent. Sero. Although Nakim is strong and even a little clumsy. But he casts Sero very neatly without dragging his feet. HMPH, just relying on the leftover will of your partner is like defeating me. Power is different from will, it is the transformation of matter, let alone you are just a Jillian. Even though Uchiha Madara looked down on Nakim, he still gave him the respect he deserved. Madara went all out and also blasted a Sero. Boom, the flashes collided in midair, bursting out the most dazzling light. It's just that the collision of power is very different. With the advantage of spiritual power, Uchiha Madara's Sero is obviously better. You fool. Nakim clenched his fists indignantly, he was helpless but there was nothing he could do. The gap between Jillian and Ajukas can't be bridged by anger. Let me do it, Nazim, you are no match for this guy. Grimjow stretched out his arm to stop Nazim, he was like a cheetah looking for an opportunity, he would show his fangs at the critical moment. Hello, Ajukas, what's your name? Grimjow doesn't sneak up, he likes to kill but prefers fair fighting. Asking Uchiha Madara's name before the fight is simply giving due respect to the strong. Uchiha Madara. Just 4 words, but it represents a strong self-confidence. As a man who once independently fought against the entire ninja world, Madara still did not back down in the face of the brutal Grimjow even though the tiger is now in peace. Uchiha Madara, that's a good name, I'll remember it. However, please remember my name too. Grimjow. Yaka Jack. A creepy smile appeared on the corner of Grimjow's mouth, because that's the one who is about to take your life. Because that's the name of the person who is about to kill you. Undisguised killing intent, accompanied by a roar, Grimjow's figure instantly disappeared from Uchiha Madara's sight. Ring and turn. This speed. Too fast. Uchiha Madara's pupils shrank suddenly, even though he had 3 Tomo Sharingan, he didn't have time to react, he could only roughly feel Grimjow's Reiatsu. Feeling an unprecedented sense of crisis in his heart, Uchiha Madara instinctively held the long sword horizontally in front of him. Immediately afterwards, the sudden impact proved that this move was correct. The sharp claws flickered under the cold moon, and the sharp claw blades were like a big knife on a guillotine, as long as the slightest carelessness would cut off the head. Boom! The huge impact suddenly hit like a storm, and Uchiha Madara's figure was blown away by the majestic Reiatsu for the first time. Thorn. Uchiha Madara stabilized his body with brute force after his feet rubbed a conspicuous mark on the ground. At this moment, the calmness on his face disappeared, replaced by a look of surprise. Grimmjow was so strong, like a monster. Whether it's the agility or the indescribable explosive power, they are far superior to the opponents Madara has encountered before. Ijukas and Jillian are not on the same page after all. But this also excites Uchiha Madara even more. Only such a powerful enemy is qualified to be his opponent. The look in his eyes is no longer that indifferent look, but a coldness that penetrates deep into the bone marrow, even colder than this desperate cold moon. Uchiha Madara finally got serious. It's great, it's this kind of look that wants to kill the prey. This is what I want to see. Not only Uchiha Madara, but even Grimmjow was shaking with excitement, and he could even feel the sound of the dance boiling inside him. That is the melody of battle, that is the clarion call to advance, that is the roar of fighting. Is that so, as expected of Manos Grande, who bears the name of Ijukas? Then, I, Uchiha Madara, have to do my best too. Uchiha Madara held the snake-shaped long sword and swung it suddenly. Reiatsu split the ground with a huge crack in an instant with the slash of the blade. The sight Grimmjow saw made him even more excited. Ha 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 ha. Great, I was waiting for this moment. Waiting for this moment to kill you with all my strength. You should, the same way. Sero. The red flash condensed in the palm of the Leopard King, the melody burst out suddenly, and a red ray shot straight towards Uchiha Madara. This level of Reiatsu is far beyond my expectations, but it's just taking it for granted to beat me with this. Ring and turn. Repeating the same trick, Uchiha Madara's figure also disappeared instantly, avoiding Sero's bombardment just right. The ring he mastered is different. It is a new ring formed by combining the two with the body flicker technique of the ninja after devouring countless heads of Jillian. Although there is not much improvement in speed, but in terms of proficiency, it has improved by leaps and bounds. This speed, it seems that you are stronger than I thought. But that would be great. Seemingly anticipating the imminent appearance of Uchiha Madara, Grimmjow instinctively swung his claw blade behind him, making the first prediction. As a leopard king who hunts prey, he still does not lack this confidence. Sure enough, the figure of Uchiha Madara appeared exactly in that place. At the moment when sword and claw collided, Uchiha Madara frowned for the first time. This opponent is too powerful and difficult to deal with. Especially the unparalleled explosive power and keen perception are flawless. What's wrong, Uchiha Madara? I seem to see a wave of wavering in your eyes. Could it be that you should feel my strength that makes you despair? There was a mocking smile on the corner of Grimmjow's mouth, and he had the upper hand in the fight between Lightning and Flint. So Grimmjow deserves to be ridiculed. Really, do you think so? It's so funny, I started to change my mind and stop fighting to kill you. Because you are a rare opponent, an opponent who can make me enjoy the thrill of fighting. If you just killing you like this, wouldn't this boring time be less fun? Uchiha Madara didn't respond to Grimmjow, but spoke his mind. After coming to Haweko Mundo, this is the first time he has felt the blood of dancing like never before. Stop talking about such nonsense, come on, in fact, you want to kill me too. You want to kill me, the person who tried to kill you, and you want to tear me apart. Grimmjow sneered. No matter what, I will not show mercy. If you are unwilling to resist, then die tragically with fear and regret. Uchiha Madara firmly grasped the hilt of the long sword, and said meaningfully, die with fear. I think you got it wrong. As an opponent, why do you think this is my all-out effort? After saying that, Uchiha Madara closed her eyes. At this time, Grimmjow suddenly felt a strong sense of crisis. Just when his instinct drove him to leave, he saw a scene he would never forget. Those were a pair of cold eyes without any emotion, the blood-colored pupils, the cold eyes were like blades hanging above the head, penetrating into the soul and shocking the soul. 3 Tomo Sharingan. Immediately afterwards, a powerful pupil force gushed out from it, which suddenly gave Grimmjow a huge mental impact. Is this an illusion? Grimjow's eyes are empty, his hands loose. But just this brief moment, let Uchiha Madara succeed. The sharp blade went from top to bottom, slashing across Grimjow's body mercilessly. Under the hazy night, blood splashes. The blood splattered and turned into floating blood flowers, which were particularly conspicuous in this cold night. Tick, tick. The whole world seemed to be banned at this moment, only the sound of blood flowing. The sharp blade reflected a piercing red light under the reflection of the moonlight, adding a touch of sadness to the suffocating night. Grimjow was stunned. He looked down at the wound on his body, unexpectedly calm. The head slowly lowered, and the palm actively held the blade. The breath became deeper and colder, as if the surrounding area had turned into a 10,000 years ice cave. Blood. This is the feeling of blood. Very well, you did it. This is the feeling I have been looking forward to for a long time. I will let you fully understand who is more powerful. Grimjow suddenly raised his head, and there was a hint of madness in his eyes. For this bloody baptism, I swear by the night and the desert. I swear by blood and bones. I swear by brutality and killing. I will definitely tear you to pieces with my own hands. Roar. The burning cells burst out with endless power, and Grimjow counterattacked, knocking Uchiha Madara's body back. The wound on the chest also healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and this scene also caught Uchiha Madara's attention. High-speed regeneration. Come on, let's have a quick fight. We are both Ijukas, and the loser will die. This is something that was determined a long time ago. Grimjow bared his teeth and roared. Come on, what reason do you need to fight? Only the one who can stand at the end will live, it's that simple. There was madness in the eyes, and Grimjow felt like his blood was on fire. However, Uchiha Madara responded with his usual calmness. What's your expression? Haven't you already experienced the gap between us? Uchiha Madara shook the blade. Scarlet blood dripped down the tip of the sword. That's the blood of Grimjow, and it also represents the strength of Uchiha Madara. I like your expression, but it's not enough. Grimjow raised his palm, and a Sero slammed, blasting towards Uchiha Madara with a turbulent momentum. HMPH, Sero. You underestimate me too. Uchiha Madara snorted coldly, and blasted out a Sero as well. Boom. Two crimson flashes collided with each other, blooming the most dazzling brilliance. The majestic Reiatsu ravaged the area like a storm, not only collapsing the sand piles, but also setting off a wild sand dance. Wow, even though he was ready, Nakim was still suffocated by Reiatsu. Not only that, a kind of fear even instinctively arose in his heart. That is the fear that originates from the soul, it is the suppression of the life level, and it is the instinctive fear of the weak for the strong. The biological instinct makes the living beings rely on existences that are better than themselves. In this way, the gap between them will become larger and larger. People who are trusted will evolve to a higher level by avoiding this heavy pressure. That way, the fight will happen. In this way, fear will permeate. In this way, the blood will flow. Why am I so weak? Nakim clenched his fists tightly, and there was obvious unwillingness in his eyes. The huge gap between Ijukas and Jillian was like an insurmountable moat, making his new life hopeless. Want revenge? Not enough. Just out of anger? Not enough either. The huge gap in the pattern is doomed that Nakim can only play the role of a poor bystander. Boom. There was another deafening sound, and the two figures were inseparable in midair. Although Uchiha Madara has the advantage of 3 Tomo Sharingan, there is a gap in Reiatsu after all, so he still has no upper hand. Ha, it's great to meet an opponent like you. No matter how many scars there were on his body, the madness in Grimjow's eyes only grew stronger. He enjoys the thrill of this battle and the feeling of being baptized by blood. And Uchiha Madara didn't feel this way. This is the most hardy battle he has encountered since coming to Hueco Mundo. This is a dark world, this is a hopeless world. And the two of them are just a ghost struggling to move forward in the cracks of the world. Even if one of them falls, his blood will blur the boundaries of this world. And the person who survived will stagger forward on his flesh and blood body. As time passed, the fight between the two became intense. But even though the two of them were covered with scars, they still didn't intend to stop at all. At this moment, a voice full of killing intent sounded, breaking the deadlock immediately. Grimjow, newly born Ijukas, it is indeed your battle that caused the Reiatsu storm. Grimjow, it really is you. A rough voice sounded, breaking the tranquility of the night immediately. Grimmjow and Uchiha Madara stopped their hands and turned their eyes to the source of the voice. A rough figure with feminine and coquettish attire came into view, and that rough voice came from his mouth, which was a bit weird. Charlotte Special, Kulu style, self-proclaimed as Baragan's #1 subordinate, he finally arrived here with the other three. Grimmjow's frenzied face subsides for a split second when he sees these guys, and then turns gloomy. You guys, are you from Baragan again? There was disdain in the words, and it was clear that Grimmjow had an aversion to Baragan. Originally, Grimmjow was just an ordinary Manos Grande, with unlimited potential but not his own light. But the moment he evolved into a Jukas, he was targeted by Baragan. Although for the vast Hueco Mundo, a mere Jukas is not very powerful, but there are only a handful of them. As ruler of the Hueco Mundo, Baragan aspires to lead these mighty Jukas. First, you can control them, and second, you can prevent them from threatening your status. And this time he sent his men to capture Grimmjow with such a purpose. In the final analysis, it was for his own selfishness. You are not allowed to call His Majesty's name directly. Aburama scolded angrily. He has a special body shape, like a human-shaped vulture. Although he looks majestic, he has a bit of evil spirit. HMPH, Grimmjow, I let you run away last time, this time I will bring you back to the Void Knight Palace no matter what. Fendor watched with a cold face. Reiatsu surged on his huge crab claw, as if he was about to shoot if he disagreed. Just because you want to defeat me. What a fool's dream. Grimmjow fought each other, and didn't want to talk to these little guys at all. He is a man who wants to become a king, so how can he be afraid of these few obstacles? It seems that you want to repeat the same mistakes. Then don't let us be cruel. Nongqi's eyes turned cold, and he said in a cold voice, although His Majesty entrusted us with the task of bringing you back to the Zai Palace, he didn't specify how to bring you back. Grimmjow, do you want to cut off your limbs, or stab countless holes in your body? Anyway, you have the ability of high-speed regeneration, so you won't die no matter what, it's just a hellish torture, that's all. Although Nongqi's words sounded lightly, they contained a vicious resentment, and torturing Grimmjow was his real purpose. Hey, Ejuka's over there. Now it's your turn to make a choice. Do you follow us to subdue Grimmjow, or disobey the Emperor's order and grow the enemy of the Void Palace? Instead of leaving Uchiha Madara alone, Charlotte Kulufeng presented him with a difficult problem. If it is the first choice, it is tantamount to surrendering to Baragan, and Grimmjow is the vote. If there are two choices, it means that he will face the endless pursuit of Zai Palace in the future. Surrender or die. However, this choice is not a problem for Uchiha Madara at all. If he chooses to surrender, then he will not be Uchiha Madara, but a walking dead without a soul. The frosty gaze has already told the answer. Obviously Uchiha chose to resist. HMPH, it seems that you Ejukas are all virtuous, relying on the skyrocketing Reiatsu to try to resist the Emperor's order. How stupid. Charlotte Kulufeng felt an unexplainable anger in his heart. In his opinion, following the Baragan is a supreme thing, but Grimmjow and the others have repeatedly resisted the orders of the great emperor. This crime cannot be forgiven. It's obviously a group of mobs, but you put on a haughty look. Your behavior is really ridiculous. Uchiha Madara didn't intend to show any favor to Charlotte and the others. Even though the four of them looked strong, it was just a tough fight. It's just that you have just transformed into Ejukas, but you dare to speak wild words. I have to say, you are indeed brave. Charlotte's eyes were cold. But, arrogant people are easy to die. Fendor, Shinan, you two take on him. Me and Aburama take on Grimmjow. Charlotte quickly gave the order. In his opinion, Grimmjow is more powerful and needs to be dealt with personally. So send the other two to deal with Uchiha Madara. Get it clear to me, even if you haven't fully controlled the full power of Ejukas, it's not something you can deal with. Uchiha Madara formed seals with both hands, and even took the initiative to launch an offensive. Fire style, Long Yan singing technique. The scorching flame spewed out from Uchiha Madara's mouth, and immediately turned into several mighty fire dragons and rushed towards Charlotte and the others below. What kind of ability is this? While not afraid of dragons, Grimmjow was still amazed. Although each ghost has its own innate ability, it is rare to be able to control the flame so skillfully. Then what happened to those eyes before? Grimmjow was puzzled. He suddenly discovered that Uchiha Madara hides a lot of secrets, and he is completely different from the opponent he has encountered before. What a fun guy. Grimmjow looked at Uchiha Madara's back, eyes flickering as if thinking about something. It turned out to be a flame. What a special ability. Charlotte and the others were also surprised, but they quickly launched a counterattack. 4 red flashes blasted out, defeating the fire dragon in midair. Although fire dragons are also condensed from Reiatsu, Sero is relatively dense and powerful in itself. Boom! The fire dragon collapsed, and the flames fell into the air. Suddenly, the whole place turned into a hell of flames. Under the pale moonlight, the flames were blazing, and Charlotte's face looked even more gloomy under the light of the fire. He suddenly found that the opponent seemed to be more difficult than he imagined. Come with me, Aburama, finish off Grimmjow first, and deal with this guy later. Although she wanted to kill Uchiha Madara herself, after thinking about it, Charlotte Kurufung decided to kill Grimmjow first. The reputation of the Leopard King has already started to spread to the Night Palace, and Uchiha Madara is just a newly born Ejukas. Then leave this guy to us. Fendor Gylias and Shinonbo took a step forward and appeared in front of Uchiha Madara in an instant. This consummate sound made Uchiha Madara's pupils shrink suddenly. Compared with Xiaolong and the 4 of them, Fendor's strength can be described as another level. That is to say, even if Uchiha Madara has evolved to Ejukas, it cannot be taken lightly. Otherwise, he may die. Brush. The blade in his hand chopped down without hesitation, but it didn't achieve any effect. The burly Kininpo sneered contemptuously, and blocked Uchiha Madara's slash with just one punch. What's more, the blade containing Reiatsu left only a shallow gash on his fist. Surprised, aren't you? I'm the one with the strongest body under Emperor Baragan, and your blade can't cut through my skin. Shinonpo wasn't lying. He was born with brute strength and a huge body. Even if he wasn't Ejukas, he could rely on the hardness of his flesh to not let him down. Although Uchiha Madara has Rinnegan and various ninjutsu, it is indeed inferior to Shinonpo in pure strength confrontation. Boom! It was another punch, like a black cloud covering the sky and the sun. Even if Uchiha Madara pressed the blade in front of him, he was blown away. Relying on brute force can push me to this point. I have to say that I recognize your strength. But, brute force is brute force after all. No matter how big it is, it will lose its effect like a short-lived epiphyllum. Uchiha Madara formed a mudra with both hands and performed ninjutsu again. Water style, mist shinobi technique. Reiatsu turned into hazy mist, pouring out of the body continuously. In an instant, Uchiha Madara's figure disappeared into the thick fog. Mist, he can actually cast fog. How is this possible? Isn't his ability to control Hokage? Whether it is the 4 of Charlotte or Grimmjow, there are turbulent waves in their hearts. You must know that being able to display one ability is already the limit of most ghosts, but having 2 completely different abilities is unprecedented. It's scary. He might have more potential than Grimmjow. Charlotte Tekurufung's face became more and more gloomy, and an imperceptible fierce light flashed in the depths of her pupils. Any Ejukas with great potential or potential threats. Once they evolve into Vasto Lord, they will threaten the status of Skeleton King. It would be the wisest decision to kill these Ejukas in their cradles before they grow up. Sero, Charlotte Tekurufung and Aburama looked at each other, and after using Sero to force Grimmjow back, they even rushed at Uchiha Madara at the same time. By this time, their perceptions had completely changed. Uchiha Madara is a bigger threat than Grimmjow. So kill Uchiha Madara no matter what. You guys dare to underestimate me. Grimmjow, who was arrogant in his heart, was immediately ignored by being ignored. Just when he was about to make a move, Uchiha Madara's figure jumped out of the thick fog and fled into the distance. Only Shinonpo and Fendor Guy, who were close at hand, had time to react. In less than a moment, the figures of the 3 disappeared into the vast desert. For letting him go. But, take it out on you, Grimmjow. Charlotte Tekuru was furious, and finally showed the most primitive wildness, pouring all the hatred on Grimmjow. Grimmjow and Uchiha Madara's king-to-king duel was forced to be interrupted by the arrival of Charlotte Tekurufung and the others. As the figures of Uchiha Madara, Fendor Guy, Lias, and Kininpo disappeared into the night, the surroundings returned to silence. Brush. Three figures walked through the night like ghosts, and the three chased back and forth, accompanied by red flashes. "Don't try to run away," Fendor yelled from behind. He wanted to tear Uchiha Madara's body apart, but he could only watch the distance between the two continue to widen. His body is a crab, and he is not good at speed, because he can only do it in a hurry. Needless to say, Chininpo is completely a mobile fortress, and it is a blessing in misfortune to be able to catch up with the speed of the two of them. But what the two of them didn't realize was that Uchiha Madara was deliberately slowing down. Uchiha Madara glanced back, with a sinister arc on the corner of his mouth. He was not afraid of each other, but wanted to lead the two into a desperate situation. Darkness breeds light, and light turns away from darkness. Curse the darkness. Thus the killing was born. Slap. After escaping a long enough distance, Uchiha Madara finally stopped and landed firmly on a hill. He turned around and looked at the two with interest, and said, "How is it? Have you chased enough? You guy, did you lure us here on purpose?" Although Kininpo was clumsy, his mind was not stupid. He didn't see the slightest fear from Uchiha Madara's face, but everything was under control. Kanongpo's face immediately became gloomy, even a little unhappy. Being led by the nose to run is not something to be happy about. "What's your expression? Don't you understand the gap between us?" Uchiha Madara embraced her hands, looking down at the two of them from a height, only endless haki in her eyes. "Sero." Without too many words, Shinonpo directly responded to Uchiha Madara's provocation with a Sero. But they saw an unbelievable scene. I saw that the palm of Uchiha Madara also condensed a red flash, but when the flash condensed into a ball, he used the snake-shaped longsword to penetrate the false bullet and then violently threw it out. Brush. The false bomb flew across the night sky like a meteor, and exploded right beside the two of Shinon and Bo. This scene is just like the collaboration between Susanoo and Nine Tails. Unstoppable and powerful. Even though Shinon and Bo put their arms in front of their bodies, they still received a huge impact from Sero's energy, and the skin on their arms was burned by the scorching heat. "Hate, I must kill you." Fendor was furious. He swung the pair of huge crab claws suddenly, and immediately shot out a jet of water that could cut through everything. Water style, water barrier. The wall formed by the water curtain rose, easily blocking the attack. You can skillfully use the abilities of water and fire. If you save your life, it will definitely be a disaster in the future. Fendor was furious, but there was nothing he could do. Uchiha Madara gave him the feeling like a bottomless pit, and he couldn't see his true strength at all. "Your Majesty, how ridiculous. The skeleton emperor you are talking about is nothing more than a ghost who is afraid of death. Why should you deceive yourself and pretend to be your Majesty?" A sneer formed on the corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth. If it weren't for fear, Baragan wouldn't need to send his men to capture Ajukas at all, just because these Manos Grande would threaten his position. "You don't understand. His Majesty is the supreme god, destined to be the ruler of Hueco Mundo, unique, the only king." Fendor said piously. There was only fanatical admiration in his eyes. In his eyes, Baragan is an invincible god, sacred and inviolable. Anyone who dares to offend the gods will have only one ending, and that is death. Guy who is overconfident, do you know who you are provoking now? The god of Hueco Mundo, the Skeleton King. Fendor sneered and said, even the semi-rankerized Heli Bell is no match for the Emperor, let alone you, an ant who has just been promoted to Ajukas. How can you understand the gap between Vastolord and Ajukas with your strength? Facing the cynicism of the two, Uchiha Madara remained indifferent. What about gods? What about ants? For him, none of this mattered. Power is the source of everything. The reason why we think the flowers on the cliff are beautiful is because we will stop on the cliff, instead of taking a step towards the sky like those flowers who are not afraid. Come on, let me see what kind of abilities the subordinates trained by the so-called god of Hueco Mundo possess. With the determination of a strong man, the figure of Uchiha Madara rushed towards the two. Since you intend to seek death, don't blame us. Kanongbo raised his head to the sky and roared furiously, and that burly figure burst out with unparalleled power. Under the dark moonlight, the two figures collided with each other, and a fierce reiatsu erupted. As time passed, the war gradually came to an end. Looking around, the ground is in a mess, and even the landscape has completely changed. Obviously, this earth-shattering battle was even more tragic than imagined. Who? The sound of rapid breathing broke the tranquility of the night, and I saw Uchiha Madara leaning exhausted on the boulder. He seemed to be a god of war bathed in blood, his whole body was full of blood, and even the snake-shaped long sword was covered with scarlet blood. Not far in front of him, Fendor and Shinigami had turned into two corpses, dying of exhaustion. They were scorched black, as if they had been scorched by hot flames. What a tough guy, worthy of being the king of Hueco Mundo. A smile played on Uchiha Madara's mouth. Although the battle was tragic, he enjoyed the feeling very much. Only through the battle of death can the most primitive potential be unleashed. At this moment, a chilling voice suddenly sounded, breaking the tranquility of the night. It's so difficult to deal with two trash, what a trash. A tall and thin figure appeared in front of Uchiha Madara. He had 6 arms and held a scythe in each hand. Holy weeping mantis, Enenwatra. What a waste. Enenwatra suddenly appeared on the sand pile like a Shinigami. The 6 huge sickles glowed coldly. There was an undisguised killing intent on that slightly ferocious face. In fact, Enenwatra has long been eyeing Uchiha Madara. As early as Uchiha Madara's Reiatsu was exposed, Enenwatra immediately rushed to the source of this Reiatsu. It's just that he found Charlotte Tekurufung and his party on the way. Out of caution, Enenwatra didn't choose to make an immediate move, but instead lurked. It also happened to satisfy Enenwatra's reasons when Charlotte and his party parted ways. Who are you? Despite being unafraid, Uchiha Madara still felt uneasy when he saw Enenwatra for the first time. Reiatsu, who is on par with Grimmjow, is even stronger, and even that momentum is more fierce. Unlike Grimmjow's admiration for combat, Uchiha Madara can see that Enenwatra is the kind of person who is truly ruthless. Enenwatra Gilga, the one who will take your life. It seems to be stained with too much blood. Even if it is far away, Uchiha Madara can still feel the smell of blood from the sickle. The few drops of scarlet blood dripped from the luminous blade, and the crisp sound of ticking was like the death knell welcoming death. There was madness in Enenwatra's eyes. He couldn't wait to kill Uchiha Madara, eat his body, and devour his soul, so that he could take another step towards the strongest. It's really ironic. I didn't expect you to get something for nothing in the end. In Uchiha Madara's words, there was no self-blame, only helpless sighs. He knew Enenwatra's intentions almost without thinking, but was powerless to do anything about it. Reiatsu, who has exhausted his whole body to be able to kill Fendor and Nongchi, and Uchiha Madara is already seriously injured. At this time, even the most ordinary Jillian can easily kill him. Enenwatra's footsteps are getting closer, which means that Uchiha Madara is also one step closer to death. Death means the end. Death means liberation. In the same way, death also means regret. Die with remorse and unwillingness. Don't worry, after absorbing your Reiatsu, I will challenge Baragan with your resentment. Only I am the strongest. A frenzied roar came from Enenwatra's mouth. He raised his scythe, his eyes full of contempt. By this time, desperation and repentance were of no use, and he was about to gain the power of Uchiha Madara. The sharp sickle became bigger and bigger in Uchiha Madara's eyes, and just when life was about to come to an end, a child's voice broke the silence. Enenwatra, hurry up and stop. This voice is as beautiful as a silver bell, like the wonderful voice of an angel from heaven, but it is also incompatible with this world. The moment he heard the voice, Enenwatra frowned, and he looked back unhappily, showing extreme impatience. Uchiha Madara looked along the source of the sound, but saw a beautiful figure. Although the lower body is an antelope, the upper body is a human body. What shocked Uchiha Madara even more was that half of the mask on the figure's face was broken, revealing a beautiful face. Half Urankarization. Is she Vasto Lord? Such an idea popped into Uchiha Madara's mind at the first time. The suffocating huge Reiatsu, combined with the Urankar, there is no doubt that only Vasto Lord level Hollow can do this. Lake green hair, clear and moving eyes, snow-white skin, a plump white rabbit, and an exquisite figure. If you discard your false identity, the conditions are absolutely perfect. It's a pity that what appeared in front of him was not a human being, but a void. Neliel, you really linger. Enenwatra didn't give him any face because of Nilu's strength. The anger in those words was obvious. Is it meaningful to take advantage of others' danger and bully the weak? Neliel's beautiful voice was full of anger. She was kind-hearted and didn't like to kill innocent people indiscriminately. Even the noble and powerful Vasto Lord never takes advantage of anyone. Don't impose your methods on others. This is Hueco Mundo, a world where the weak prey on the strong. Only brutal killing can be the source of evolution. Enenwatra held up a sharp sickle, pointed at Uchiha Madara and said, "A weak person like him should be eaten by me. It is a matter of course for the weak to be killed by the strong. Why do you stop me? Really, I don't think you can beat him in his prime." Even though Uchiha Madara is scarred, Neriel still sees extraordinary Reiatsu fluctuations in him. It is an extremely rare thing that being an Ijukas can make Vasto Lord feel dangerous. That's just your speculation. If it wasn't for your appearance, he would already be the soul of my sword. Only the strong can live in this world, and that's enough. Enenwatra's arms trembled constantly as he tried his best to restrain his killing intent. Not only does he want to kill Uchiha Madara, he also wants to kill Neliel. He looked down on women and believed that women did not deserve to be superior to men. For Neliel, there is only hatred from the heart. If it wasn't for lack of strength, Enenwatra would have wanted to kill Neliel a long time ago. Come on, since you don't like me, kill me, Neliel. Enenwatra wanted death wholeheartedly. He believed that the best relief was to fight the strong and die. Boring. Neliel ignored him and came to Uchiha Madara instead. She looked at Uchiha Madara carefully, and then smiled innocently. "What's your name?" Uchiha Madara looked into Nailu's clear eyes, and after a moment of silence, he said, "Madara." Uchiha Madara. Nailu raised her eyebrows and smiled, and a knowing smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. "I can feel that you are different from others. You are not as cold and heartless as they are, but you have a latent kindness. Would you like to be my partner? Do you want to grow up as my partner?" For some unknown reason, perhaps because it was rare to meet a hollow full of human form, Neliel extended a friendly arm to Uchiha Madara. Looking at Nailu's kind and beautiful face, Uchiha Madara fell into a daze. It's not because of Nailu's beauty, but because there is such a kind heart in the exposed Hueco Mundo, which Uchiha Madara never expected. Human beings, heart, how ironic. Shu can be more kind and innocent than human beings. Uchiha murmured softly. Perhaps because he has experienced too much killing and bloodshed in this cruel world, Uchiha Madara has become accustomed to the law of the jungle where the jungle preys on the jungle. When Nailu showed the unique kindness and innocence of human beings, he felt a little uncomfortable. This world is too unexpected. I'm asking you something, Uchiha Madara. Nailu looked at Uchiha Madara, who was in deep thought, and quickly woke him up with a pleasant voice. "Become your partner. It's a good proposal. But, why did you invite me to be your partner?" Uchiha Madara didn't make a decision right away, but instead asked Nailu. "The reason? There is no reason. It's just because I think you are a kind-hearted person who will not kill innocent people indiscriminately." Nailu smiled slightly. That charming smile seemed to add a beautiful landscape to this barren world. "I see, you're such an interesting guy. I thought Hueco Mundo was only savage, but I didn't expect you to have a purer kindness than humans." Uchiha Madara said meaningfully. "Human, have you ever been to this world?" When Uchiha Madara mentioned human beings, Nailu suddenly realized that the breath she sensed from Uchiha Madara was very similar to human beings. "Do not." Uchiha Madara didn't want to explain too much on this issue. He was more concerned about the mutilated Arankar hanging on Nailu's beautiful face. How much strength is needed to be semi-Arankarized? Being stared at by Uchiha Madara all the time, a blush appeared on Nailu's face. She quickly changed the subject and said, "Come on, follow me to my place. There are 2 other friends of mine there." "Okay." Uchiha Madara didn't say no. First of all, he is seriously injured now, and he could easily be slaughtered if he is alone. The identity of the second-class Nailu is the powerful Vasto Lord, which is a huge attraction for Uchiha Madara. Especially Arankar, which is the secret that Madara can't wait to unravel. But before that, you'd better absorb their power first. This is all your spoils of war. A touching smile appeared on Nailu's beautiful face. Although she has a kind heart, it doesn't mean she won't kill. Nailu still agrees with Hueco Mundo's rule of the jungle. The reason why she can treat others kindly is entirely based on her strong strength. If it weren't for the suppression of the life level, I'm afraid Enenwatra would have killed Uchiha Madara immediately after killing her. Therefore, power is the foundation of everything. Lost power, like an ant that can only be trampled on. Lost strength, not even a sinking. Uchiha Madara remained silent. He came to the bodies of the two of Fendor, closed his eyes, and silently absorbed all their power. The bodies of the two were covered with a layer of light blue fluorescence. Whether Reiatsu, memories, or abilities were all absorbed by Uchiha Madara. After Enenwatra on the side saw this scene, the killing intent in his heart was already strong enough to ultimate. Originally, Uchiha Madara had become his ghost under the sword, so that he could absorb the power of the three and take a step towards Vasto Lord. However, because of the appearance of Nailu, everything came to naught. Not only did not get the power of the two of Fendor, but even the power of Uchiha Madara could not be obtained. This is an even worse blow for Enenwatra. As a man who yearns for power and fights, this kind of shame is unbearable. As time passed, the power of the two of Fendor poured into Uchiha Madara little by little. At the same time, Enenwatra's anger continued to mount. When the energy was completely absorbed, Enenwatra's anger also reached its peak. All of this should belong to me. With uncontrollable anger, accompanied by a hissing roar, Enenwatra finally made a move. He raised his scythe and slashed at Uchiha Madara's back, but Nailu blocked it easily. What do you want, Enenwatra? There was anger in the childish and sweet voice. It was obvious that Nailu was dissatisfied with Enenwatra's actions. Get out of the way, Neliel. Not only will I kill him, I'll kill you too. With madness in his eyes, Enenwatra swung his scythe recklessly. HMPH, boring behavior, you just want to die. As a Shu who had disputes during the Manos Grande period, Nailu knew Enenwatra very well. It's not so much about trying to die, it's better to say that he wants to die vigorously in the hands of the strong. You give up, I will not fight you. If you want to challenge me, wait until the day you become Vasto Lord. Nailu shot Enenwatra into the air, and did not choose to shoot again. Although she could easily kill him, it didn't make any sense. Come on, Uchiha Madara, and ignore this madman. Although not disgusting, Nailu didn't want to bother with Enenwatra. She is very curious about Uchiha and wants to unlock his secrets. Let's go. Madara has the same thought. He longs for Arrancar, longs to find himself. The two gradually drifted away and finally disappeared in the vast desert. Enenwatra looked at the place where their figures disappeared, with a vicious look in his eyes. Why, a mere woman is above my head. Neliel, just wait for me, one day, I will trample you under my feet and make you feel like hell. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.